3 at 3. So let's get it started, shall we? Just finishing up that last trade. Here we go. 3 at 3, unusual option activity. Here's where I let you know what we're seeing as far as unusual activity. Where it might be on the bullish side, those would be calls that would be accumulated. Where it would be bearish side, that would be puts that are accumulated. You see both of them, and both of them on a very regular basis are exactly what you want to see. So what I'm looking for right now is, how do you get started? Well, you can get started by going to marketrebellion.com/get started. That is marketrebellion.com/get started. There we have the first steps you can take in stock trading, in option trading, in futures trading, in cryptocurrency trading. Whatever you want to learn to trade of those four disciplines, we can show you how. And the reason I use the word discipline is twofold. And it is one of the most important factors in your success as an investor. So if you really want to learn, then go to marketrebellion.com/get started, and you'll see about coaching, mentoring, online learning, all of that. All right, let's dive into it, shall we? Well, as you can see, this is a disclaimer. It is here to tell you that basically we are delighted to present this information for informational and educational purposes only. Full stop. So you guys know what happened here. At or about 11:14 Central Daylight Time, news hit on the tape that Apple would close some U.S. stores again as COVID-19 spikes. And as we saw that, folks, we thought it was noteworthy because, well, my brother Pete was on the halftime report. I know that's noon Eastern time, but in Central Time Zone where Pete and I are right now, he's up in Minnesota, I'm down here in Chicago, south of Minnesota. You are an hour different than New York. So Central Daylight Time, 11:14 is about when we saw that news breaking. And as that news broke, of course, the market made a nice turn as well. There you see from the S&P 500 chart, the approximate time. Now, we've been bleeding off from the highs of the day, so that's a known factor. However, absent something like what we saw, we probably would not have continued lower without this catalyst. That catalyst being, if Apple is seeing this, what does it mean in terms of, are they just shutting down for a day or two over the weekend? Are they going to make states that it's not mandatory that you wear a mask? Are they going to make them wear a mask? All of those things on the table, as well as, of course, the fear mongers that want to say, oh, it's a second wave, it's a second wave. Okay. Anyway, that's why we saw that blip lower in shares virtually across the board. So as you might imagine, when we see things like that, we see the opportunity to either profit from a put, a continuation, or calls, a bounce back. Now, I have both for you today. And the first two I don't think will surprise any of you. Norwegian Cruise Lines. This is one that I'd say is pretty much an epicenter stock. Epicenter meaning that these guys are right in the thick of it as far as if we see a recovery, well, that'll be fantastic for a stock that's as battered down as Norwegian Cruise Lines. If we see an outbreak, this one will feel it fast. And the same is true to a lesser extent of Disney and some of the other theme parks and things. But Disney's lucky enough to have multiple tentacles out there. Now, unfortunately for them, one of those tentacles does happen to be ESPN, and sports have been few and far between. But as you saw with the flood of folks' record viewership for the NFL draft, which I'm the first to say I love watching the NFL draft. I wouldn't have thought it would have been a record, except that there was that much pent-up viewing demand. So Disney has multiple ways they can make money, a lot of which, though, are inhibited dramatically right now because theme parks are just reopening. Sports are not really being played. The news and informational side of their business is fine, but the theaters and Avengers and all that kind of stuff that Disney has, Star Wars, most of that stuff is on hold. So anyway, back to Norwegian Cruise Lines. NCLH, bearish put buying. They bought next week expiration, so this is short term. They think they know something's going to happen fast, and if it doesn't, they just want to be out. What did they do? They bought these puts almost immediately when they were seeing that news about Apple closing those stores, because maybe it pushes it off another month, the reopening that they've projected. Whole bunch of reasons. Anyway, stock's $18.10. They buy the next week out 19 puts, which are in the money. So in other words, this is a surrogate for shorting the stock. It's not just insurance. It's not just a bet that the stock goes lower. This is the equivalent of shorting the stock without the worry about a buyback. So this is probably fairly sophisticated player, doesn't want to worry about a buyback, thinks the stock goes lower. They've already profited because they started buying them at $1.14. They bought them to $1.85. Where is it now? Well, $17.89. It's fallen, let's say, approximately 20 cents, 21 cents. Okay? So keep an eye on that. As you saw there, it was fluttering back and forth for several days across the 1950 area, but now looks like it might be violating a further move to the downside based on what we see here. All right, let's go to our second of the 3 at 3. That is Seas, S-E-A-S, Seas. Now, this is Disney, but without anything else. SeaWorld is just basically SeaWorld. So in other words, if tourists aren't going, I think they will go, by the way, but if tourists don't go, these guys are in a world of hurt. So when you look at SeaWorld, the bearish put buying we see in here is not next week. This extends out into July. So the July expiration, third week in July, expiration puts are being bought at the 14 strike, out of the money. This is somebody that's thinking that maybe these guys, just like Norwegian Cruise Lines, have some trouble in the short term because of what's happened as far as COVID. Could be. These puts were purchased for 90 cents, which is $90, since every option is for 100 shares of stock, and they were purchased for up to $1.05, with the stock trading $15.74 and approximately 5 weeks into the future. Okay, so let's see where the stock is right now. It was at $2.15 just about an hour ago, $15.74. Now it's $15.47. So as you can see, both of these two stocks already reacting and already moving lower, with the move lower in some of the broad market as well. Third stock for our 3 at 3. Let's take a look right now. VIPS. So VIPS, my friends, this is a shopping experience, right? VIPS calls being bought. What calls? November 23rd. So July, August, September, October, November. 5 months out into the future. VIP shops. So what do? Well, let's see. They operate online discount retailers in China, the People's Republic of China. So are these guys affected by COVID over here? Not so much, because U.S. consumers, if we had a second wave and if we hunker down, it's not really affecting this particular stock. So is it strange that we see buying in here? No, because this one's disconnected from that. So stock just shy of 21, they're buying the 23 calls. So they're basically saying at least a $2 rally between here and November. They bought one print of 6,000 of these, which is 600,000 share equivalent. How do you get that? 100 shares for every option. So 6,000 is 600,000 share equivalent. They paid $2.40 to $2.55. So you get the idea. This is $240 each option to $255 each option. So that means that collectively that 6,000 that printed, along with this $2.50, call it, means that we're at about 1.3 million. And then we've doubled up on that. We're at 13,500 of these changing hands. So again, VIPS, shopping in China, virtually everything. They have outlets and everything online. So how's this one worked out? We saw this one before the halftime report, 10:54 Central, which is 11:54, about 6 minutes before the halftime report. And how's it done? Well, it's 21:10 right now. It was 20.89 when we saw it this morning. So hasn't sold off, has continued to move higher. Now, perhaps not as robustly when the broader market has this pressure on it that it has, but the market's off the lows. We'll see how bad they try to sell us fear again all weekend, and I'll look to feast on that fear come Monday morning again. Taking a lot of profits here, happy with that. I hope you're happy where you are. We'll be doing our cocktail hour in about 2 hours from right now. I'm looking forward to that. Have a good one, everybody. I hope you hunker down where you are, do a little shopping online.